This month on The Spark, our theme is protecting and leveraging our assets. We'll learn more about a multidisciplinary research center focused on our water and other natural resources here in the Memphis area. An organization working with and for the people of Memphis to trigger the transformative power of our river. And a leading provider of self-storage solutions that goes the extra mile to give back. We'll also share a special moment from our Spark Awards 2020.
Lipscomb and Pitts Insurance is honored to serve the Memphis community for over 60 years. We've always focused on supporting our community and believe in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb and Pitts Insurance is proud to be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.
Additional funding for The Spark is provided by Meriton, United Way of the Mid-South, MyTown Movers, MyTown Roofing, MyTown Miracles, and by Serves.
Ever been excited by a new idea? Inspired by watching someone lead by example? When we talk about creating change, we start by sharing the stories of everyday heroes who are making a difference in their own way so we can learn and do the same. I'm Jeremy Park, and this is The Spark. Let's dive into the world of water and our natural resources here in the Mid-South. We're lucky to be joined by Sarah Houston. She is the Associate Director of Education and Outreach with the University of Memphis Center for Applied Earth Science and Engineering Research, affectionately known as CESAR. So Sarah, let's start out. Give us a little bit of background on CESAR in terms of the work that you do.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. CESAR has been an ever-growing research center at the University of Memphis. So we started off as the Groundwater Institute in 1992. So we were really focused, obviously, on groundwater, our aquifer system below our feet. But then we added on a new wing in 2015, and that was GIS and mapping and really looking at spatial analysis of our area. And so that's what morphed us into CESAR. So from then, we actually have added one more division, transportation and logistics, and that's with Dr. Stephanie Ivy, Dr. Martin Lipinski, what was formerly IFTI. So we've really morphed into an interdisciplinary research center, looking at all aspects really of community within Memphis and Shelby County and West Tennessee. But still, my heart's with the Memphis Aquifer and our water resources.
Give us an idea when you talk about the Memphis Aquifer. One, are we calling it by the correct name? Because I know there's multiple names. And two, give us the main things we all need to know about the Memphis Aquifer.
Sure thing. So people have heard Memphis Aquifer, they've heard Memphis Sand Aquifer, Memphis Sands Aquifer. And if you're in Mississippi or Arkansas, you probably heard Sparta Aquifer. All of those are the same formation. So it's a shared resource. Another thing to know is that it's not this big underground lake. It is actually a thick layer of sand. If you're in downtown Memphis, about 300 to 400 feet below ground. And it's a thick layer of sand where all those pore spaces are filled with water. And so that's really what makes up that aquifer, is more like a sandbox that's been rained in. And then one other thing I think is really important for everybody to know is that when water gets into our aquifer, it's mostly coming from Fayette County and West Tennessee, and an area where the sands reach the surface. So it's been slowly filtering underground for thousands of years. But we found areas where younger water can actually start to infiltrate from our shallow aquifer system and our groundwater. And that can lead to, more likely man-made pollutants, more likely to have contamination from the current era versus 2,000 years ago. That's pretty pristine water.
And that's where the work that you're doing around education, advocacy, raising awareness for conservation, that's why all of that matters and is so important. So give a little bit of a teaser, if you will, on the community conversations, the education, the advocacy around conservation.
So we launched our biggest research project with the utility here, Memphis Light, Gas, and Water, in 2018. And that has been by far our largest investigation. And really that's specifically looking at this clay layer that's right above our Memphis sands. It's this thick, dense, protective clay, but we found over the past few decades that there's actually naturally occurring gaps or breaches or windows It's another thing that has multiple names. But it's going to be a connection between ground surface and the Memphis Aquifer. And so that's really important because it can introduce, contaminants into our aquifer system. And so we have over 20 projects going on right now all across Shelby County, trying to identify where those breaches might be, and then trying to see if there's any interactions in our well fields and our pumping stations to see, is there an impact to water quality? And that can help inform, utility operation. It can help inform land use planning, can help ensure that we are able to treat our land with care in order to protect our water quality far, far into the future.
Give us a couple of tips and ways that we can become better conservationists on our end. And then obviously, where do we go to access the information on your end?
Everybody can play a role in protecting our aquifer and really ensuring that we've got great water far into the future. So a few things, just be mindful of your water use. If you've got a lawn, don't water it in the week that it's rained. We don't need that on our grass. You're putting, clean drinking water on grass. And if, you're at home, take in 10-minute showers. Back when I was in Texas, 5 minutes was the limit. So I'm a little more lenient here. We got a little more water to spare, but, just being knowledgeable about the water you use. And then if you're using fertilizers, use organic fertilizers. If you're using any kind of chemicals, try to cut back on those because that is going to infiltrate into our ground and then into our shallow aquifer. And, batteries, paints, oils, chemicals that you use in the household, you can take those to hazardous waste facilities and Jiffy Lubes and things like that to dispose of it correctly. Because you put it in a landfill, just in your trash can, that landfill eventually leaks too. So it's all connected in a way. So just being more acknowledge, the impacts that you have day to day and taking care of those types of, hazardous chemicals and your individual water use. Some things that we can do as individuals.
So wrap it up. Where do we go to learn more about University of Memphis CSER?
Absolutely. So we launched a brand new website with all kinds of great resources for teachers and students too. So if you go to caesar.memphis.edu, and I'll spell out CSER for you, it's CAESER.memphis.edu. And we're also on Facebook and Twitter. So if you're on the socials, you can come find us and follow us. And yeah, those are the two main ways you can get to know what we're doing and stay in touch.
Well, Sarah, greatly appreciate all you and your team are doing. Thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, and we look forward to continuing this conversation.
Since we recorded our interview with Sarah Houston on March 31st, she recently accepted a new position and on June 14th transitioned from CSER to become the Executive Director of Protect Our Aquifer, a nonprofit focused on protecting our drinking water and active aquifer management. We wanted to give you the important update and also say, congratulations, Sarah. They're working to trigger the transformative power of our river. We're here with the president and CEO of Memphis River Parks Partnership, Carol Coletta. And Carol, let's start with a little bit of background for Memphis River Parks Partnership. Give us a history lesson.
Yeah, well, the partnership is the evolution of an organization, a nonprofit organization in partnership with the city of Memphis that was founded almost 20 years ago. But 3 years ago, we became the Memphis River Parks Partnership, and we manage 250 acres of riverfront on behalf of the citizens of Memphis.
So you have a big project underway, a lot of transformation. And so talk about the vision, talk about what's going on.
Yeah, in 2 or 3 years ago, Mayor Strickland commissioned something called the Memphis Riverfront Concept. It was chaired by Alan Crone, and it was really to take a comprehensive look across our entire riverfront and across all the decades, 100 years, 10 decades of trying to do something more with it. And so we have begun the initial pieces of that, Jeremy. We finished River Garden, the former Jeff Davis Park. We finished the former Confederate Park, now called Fourth Bluff Park. We connected the entire thing, thanks to the Hyde Family Foundation, with what we call the River Line, which goes from the Wolf River Greenway all the way down and across to Big River Crossing. So those were big, fast pieces we could get done. We've gotten all that done in the last 3 years. The big piece we're now working on, in addition to improvements that we've made just this year on Mont Island, is the remaking of Tomley Park. In 1991, the Corps of Engineers built a new dike along the river and allowed the city to expand what was then a small, very small Tomley Park. And that was great, except that it's always been sort of a place waiting to happen, a place waiting to become a park. They put in some walkways, they put in some grass, but not a lot more. So our chance now for Memphis is to convert this into a real signature park for Memphis. And that's what we're doing. It's a $60 million remake of the park. Very exciting. Work is underway now. Will be finished mid-2023.
And a big part of that is accessibility for all. And so ADA compliance is a big piece of this. Also to multi-usage year-round, flexible spaces. So talk about some of the things that you want everyone to know.
Yeah, I think you mentioned a couple of them. One, the big move, if you think about getting from the bluff, like Front Street, down to the river, it's pretty steep. And it's really hard for a lot of people to get up and down, but especially if you have any sort of mobility challenges. So we're really thrilled that we will build the first ADA accessible ramp down the bluff at Vance Park, down to the banks of the river, and create a new civic entry to Tomley Park. That's very exciting. Our playground will be fully accessible. We'll have another ADA accessible point on the south end of the park. So that just ramps up the equity, it ramps up the ability of people to use it. And again, not just those with what we think of as tagged mobility challenges, but also people who are getting a little older, moving a little slower, people who are a little overweight. I mean, all of that can hinder your opportunity to enjoy our riverfront because of the nature of the special conditions we have. But in the park, there's going to be first of all, just trees and gardens that will be so beautiful as places to just linger. And we're excited about that. Food and beverage, park appropriate food and beverage, which we're excited about. A beautiful misting fountain, 7,000 square feet of that. We'll have a huge civic canopy under it's open air, but under which you can do private parties, you could do concerts, you could do line dancing, play ball, all kinds of different things in the park. We've got new art that we're not ready to talk about, but it's going to be very, very special. And a hammock grove. I mean, honestly, just go to tomleypark.org and take a look.
So how can we help?
Well, we're still looking for donors, and we're always looking for volunteers. And there are lots of different volunteer jobs to be done. Everything from surveying the public to find out, how we can do things better. Is it clean? Do they feel safe? What would they like to see on the riverfront? To painting, to doing some gardening. And all of it's fun, right? Because, it's volunteer work. It's fun. You meet nice people. You meet people from very broad range of neighborhoods, which is great because downtown is everybody's neighborhood. The riverfront is everyone's park. And so you can, we've got this really cool category of donor where you can become a visionary donor for $1,000. And that $1,000 doesn't have to be paid all at once. It can be paid in very small increments. We have people paying, I think, as little as $10 a month. So it's cheaper than your coffee. And it gives you a way, not only as a citizen to feel ownership of the park, but also as a direct donor. And we've been thrilled with how many Memphians have stepped up. We've even had some former Memphians step up and become visionary donors for the park. And we love that. So you can always go to memphisriverparks.org or tomleypark.org.
Carol, greatly appreciate all you and your team do. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your interest always.
The Spark Awards annually recognize and celebrate individuals and organizations that have made outstanding contributions to the community. The 2020 recipient of the Corporate Award for companies with 101 to 499 employees is Radians.
Radians is a Memphis-based manufacturer of personal protective equipment. We've got facilities in North Carolina, Reno, Nevada, Mexico. We've been very fortunate to have a great workforce here that's allowed us to grow. We've been able to continue to expand our footprint in Memphis. When we first started, we were in about 5,000 square feet. Today, we occupy almost 300,000 square feet. We have over 400 employees. We started in eyewear and hearing protection. We've been able to become one of the largest manufacturers of high visibility clothing. And then obviously once COVID-19 came in, we've had to repurpose a lot of our manufacturing of gloves and high vis and learn how to make masks. At that point in time, masks were very scarce and they were hard to come by. We had a lot of distributors that were willing to do anything to get them from us. And we looked at how much they were marking them up. And instead of doing that and harming other people financially, we thought one of the best things we could do would be to support our local first responders. We typically do things way under the radar. We made one call to the mayor's office and it ballooned on us very quickly. We never actually imagined that it would get the press that it did. We just did it because it was the right thing to do for our community. It's just a reflection of the culture we like to have here. We're involved with the Grizzlies. We're involved with anything that we believe helps support Memphis. Been a longtime supporter of Live at the Garden. We just think it's one of the greatest things we get to do because it brings so many people in Memphis together to celebrate both our hometown and our happiness and music. It's just a very unique atmosphere for Memphis. But the Church Health Center does so many great things, and we're proud to be a sponsor of that. I think Palmer House is a great opportunity to invest in our community. The Stacks in Soulsville, the fact that we teach children and give them the opportunity after school to learn, to expose their talents to the world. Probably up until 5 or 6 years ago, we invested a lot in our community, but we were always an anonymous donor. We stepped back and started involving and putting our name on it and getting our team involved. We meet with our team and the people here have much better ideas than I will ever have. And it gives them a great sense of pride in the business. I'm a lifelong Memphian. I grew up in Graceland. This is a great city. So many times we forget all the ways we're blessed. You know, we got great food and we've got great music. We've got great culture. And the more our businesses can invest and can help build that culture in that community, it perpetuates because it improves the jobs. It improves the opportunities for the people here. I would encourage every business here to take some part of their business proceeds and make sure they invest it well in our community. It is amazing what it'll do to your workforce.
They're a leading provider of self-storage solutions. We're here with the CEO of Absolute Storage Management, Scott Beatty. And let's start out, Scott. You're a national provider. You're local oriented in terms of headquartered right here in our area. Give us a little history lesson on your end.
Jeremy, thanks. It's an honor to be here. We started our company back in 2002 in a small office space in Cordova, Tennessee, and with one property under management. We manage storage properties across the South and Southeast United States. We now have over 135 locations. And like I said, headquartered here in Memphis and Cordova, about 265 team members.
And so talk about what you do. As you mentioned, on your end, you're a service provider. So there's one piece, but you also own as well. So give us a little bit of your world.
We have ownership in about 25 of those 135 locations. Some of them are here in the greater Memphis area, our ownership pieces of that. And so those get managed quite the same, much the same as our regular third-party managed properties do as well.
Give us an idea of how the pandemic has impacted your business.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. Things got really quiet for us, back when the lockdown really kind of took hold in this late spring, early summertime. But thankfully, the demand for self-storage continued, which was wonderful. So folks began to need self-storage for different reasons. So pre-pandemic, there was some moving to houses and those sorts of things were still going on. Folks were relocating, needing self-storage. With the pandemic, though, there was this huge need to free up space in the home so that you could have school out of your house, so that you could office out of your house. And so we picked up quite a bit of business that way as folks cleared out the guest bedroom, cleared out the garage to establish these spaces.
Technology played a pivotal role in the pandemic and how you've been able to weather through and become successful. Talk about technology on your end, because now it plays a very important role moving forward.
It really does. I think, like a lot of folks would say, this pandemic really forced us all to fast forward. It forced us all to get better quickly in a very abbreviated time frame. So we were very fortunate in a lot of ways. We had contactless or touch-free rentals going on prior to COVID. But once it really started kicking in, we really started to see the value of that. So prior to that, most of our rentals were done in a traditional manner. So folks would come to the office and see the product and sign a lease, physically sign a lease. With COVID, though, we transformed all of that to touchless. So about 40% of our rentals now are done online. So the customer is able to complete the entire transaction, including lease signing and gate code acquisition and getting a lock for their unit, and honestly going and moving in that evening or that afternoon, all completed online. So it's been a wonderful transformation, and I think it's going to continue to be kind of the next step forward for us as an industry going forward.
Let's talk about philanthropy. You personally, your team, very philanthropic, very engaged in the community, a big part of the University of Memphis MILE program, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Let's start with the University of Memphis MILE program. Talk about your relationship with the MILE program.
One of my favorite things to talk about. I've been involved with it for over 8 years now. So for those of you that don't know much about the program, it is through the University of Memphis Business School, and it pairs roughly 80 to 100 students, mostly juniors and seniors, with 80 to 100 influencers, leaders in the Memphis market, coming from a number of businesses. And so that relationship, that mentor-mentee relationship is just a wonderful thing. So every year for the last 8 years, I've had a mentee that I've gotten the opportunity to do things with. They're both in an organized structure through the MILE program, which we'd meet approximately once a month, but then kind of off campus as well, and just really get to know them, pour into those students, and help them build their network and build their confidence and give them some of those skills they need to get the job they want, or give them a perspective they might need to think about something in a different way. So it's been a wonderful relationship for us. Our vice president of marketing, we actually met through the MILE program. She was a student at the University of Memphis when we first met her. We brought her in as an intern. She grew from there and just really excelled. And we're just so thrilled and blessed to have found her, and honestly to have connected with the MILE program.
Talk about St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and Toys for Tots and some of the other nonprofits that you support.
Our commitment and our connection to St. Jude here locally really serves us extremely well, both locally and kind of nationally, because of the draw and the scope of what St. Jude is. So each year for the last number of years, we've partnered with them. I have participated primarily in their Memphis Marathon weekend. In 2019, we raised over $50,000 as a company for them, which was incredibly gratifying and exciting. 2020 was a little bit off due to the pandemic, but we're bouncing back for 2021. We've also taken the opportunity over the years, and this dates back to the foundation, to founding in 2002, to partner with Toys for Tots. So each November and December, actually, we put donation collection boxes in each of our 135 locations. And over the years, we've collected thousands and thousands of toys.
We'll wrap up on your end. Where do we go to learn more about Absolute Storage Management?
Yeah, please look us up online. Google Absolute Storage Management. AbsoluteMGMT.com is the actual .com address. We can be found on all the social media outlets as well.
Well, Scott, greatly appreciate all you and your team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Great, thank you.
Here in the Mid-South, we're fortunate to have an abundance of natural resources, including our Memphis Aquifer, the Mississippi River, fertile soil, and a climate perfect for crop growing seasons. We're also fortunate to have assets like our rich musical legacy, our entrepreneurial ecosystem, our food and entertainment, tourism and service industries, and so many organizations and individuals who are focused on protecting and improving these assets, not just for our generation, but for the generations to come. Organizations like the University of Memphis Center for Applied Earth Science and Engineering Research are working to educate the community and protect our natural environment, while Memphis River Parks Partnership works to transform our riverfront and ensure that all Memphians have access with the ability to enjoy public spaces that can bring our community together year-round. Then companies like Absolute Storage Management are not only allowing people to safely protect their assets in storage, they're leveraging their resources to give back and make a difference, like through the University of Memphis Mile Program and so many others. When we take good care of what we have a much brighter future to give to those ahead. So thank you for watching The Spark. To learn more about each of the guests, to watch past episodes, and to share your stories of others leading by example, visit WKNO.org and click on the link for The Spark. We look forward to seeing you next month, and we hope that you'll continue joining with us to create a spark for the Mid-South.
Lipscomb and Pitts Insurance is honored to serve the Memphis community for over 60 years. We've always focused on supporting our community and believe in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb and Pitts Insurance is proud to be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.